Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov's chess channel and welcome to my advanced chess theory and to another part of the King's Indian defense. Today we'll do the Smyslov variation and I think that the Smyslov variation, if you're King's Indian player, I think it's one of the most annoying ones to play against. So what's all about? So let's see the line which is special for the Smyslov. We have d4, knight d6, knight on f3, knight on f6, c4, g6, knight on c3, and here we play bishop to g7, and here your opponent plays bishop to g5. So this is well, the idea for white here is after we castle and he closes here the center with e3, he fixes the position. He is trying us here to weaken our king side with this move h6. If we play h4, then we have here g5, and if you play bishop to g3, then we maybe go after this bishop with knight on h5. But here is a possible continuation even for white to play queen to d2 and castle queenside. Meanwhile, I hope you realize this light square problems that we have here around the king. So basically, we have only one protector of the light squares, which is our light square bishop. And with this bishop on g7, there is no easy one. It's not so easy here to play this move c5 after a potential queenside castle. You see, we are sort of white will create sort of a battery on the d file. So in order to get our bishop back into the game, so in order to get this bishop playing, we would love to play c5, but of course you see that's not so easy. The other thing is if we take this bishop of g3, then we would have some problems on the h file, and basically white can play a patient game and somehow maybe even break in the center. So here I wanted to show you a good line how to play against the Smyslov variation, and it was played in a game in 2008 between Bruce Leverett and Zviad Izoria. And Zviad Izoria with the black pieces, I think he found a really nice system. So in the game he played a different move order, but after bishop to g5, here we have this move bishop to f5. And basically what we want to do here is somehow maybe go with the knight on e4, trade this knight, and that's how we liberate our bishop. So you see, you would love to play knight on e5, but of course it has to be supported, and it's supported with this bishop on f5. So in the game was played e3, and we have now h6, bishop to h4, and now castling. And I'm not recommending you here again to play g5, because you will create this light square problems. So let's see, if your opponent plays here bishop to d3, he's challenging already your bishop. That's the only protector of your bishop. And if you take, you see it's not so good here, maybe here to play g5, because after bishop to g3, as I'm repeating, knight on h5, of course we can take now this bishop out, but again this problems on the h file, and with the nice central control, I think white has a better game here. So after h6 and bishop h4, here castling, and now bishop to e2. You see now black is leaving this bishop a little bit here on the square of h4. It has to be moved after a couple moves somewhere, because if we get the queen out of this diagonal here, then this bishop is also not aiming from h4 anymore. Well, anymore, that there is that's dangerous. So we would love here to this bishop to stay here on h4, and meanwhile The problems are for white here this b2 pawn, because he left with this bishop from c1 the protection of the b2. So that's why now we can play c5. You see, now it's not so easy for white to castle here queenside, because we are aiming with this bishop on this b1. So after a castle, this bishop would be deadly. And now we have h3. So this is now similar to the London system, in which, well, maybe white tries here to play bishop to g3 and then bishop to h2, and somehow continue the game with a nice dark square bishop, which would be then on a better diagonal. So, and now comes this move queen to b6. It's always hard for white when he develops this dark square bishop so early to defend here this b2. And that's why here white plays queen to d2. But now we have this move knight on e4, and here white took on e4, black also took on e4, and you see there is not possible here for white to take here with this bishop on e7, because we have rook to e7. And well, it's discoverably now attacking this king here, because if bishop to h4 again, then we can simply take, and white would have to castle. If he takes here with the knight, then we can simply take with the bishop. The queen takes, and now we have created sort of a pinned position here, but it has to be prepared. You have to play first bishop to g2, and if your opponent plays maybe something as rook to g1, you have bishop to f3. Basically what you have to do here is maybe play king to d2 and give up its rook. So you see, with this bishop on h4, it was trying to get a better diagonal, but the the next pawn move, it was really too slow, and white lacked here of the development. So in the game, after queen to d2, and white castle then, and we had the move e5. Now we're breaking really in the center, and now you see we have created this position where we forced white to castle kingside. Now he had to castle kingside here, so now it's a whole different game than the other in our opposite side attacks. So now we simply have this idea to break in the center and somehow get this bishop working. So now came a rook to d1, and we black took on d4. We had e takes d4, and now knight on c6. Completely development here by black, and he's also challenging this pawn on d4. C takes d4, d takes c5, pardon me, and d takes c5 is not such a good idea, because you see we could then now here maybe challenge the bishop on g5, and then simply play rook to d8, which will really control this the d file. So you see we have also here this target of b2. So first of all, white would have to react here for this very weak b2 pawn. So in the game, white played d5, which created a new position for black, in which he could now take this knight on f3 after bishop takes on f3, and now this knight came on d4, and now the knight is very well cemented here on d4. It cannot be attacked by any piece except by this bishop, but you see this bishop is now really out of game, because bishop to g3 is not so dangerous. We have good protection of this d6 weakness, and it's hard for another piece to come on and help on the attack on this d6. So we have already created a very nice knight here on d4, which cannot be attacked by any piece. So you see, this will be sort of a space advantage in black's position. Of course, a threat is also to take this bishop on f3, which create then here double pawns and a weak position around the king. So we have now bishop to e2, and of course we are not taking now this bishop on e2 because we have a nice knight on d4, which is much better than this bishop, which is blocked by its own pawn. So of course now came knight on f5. So you see now this, you see the weird position of this bishop. So of course bishop to g3 had to be played, and after now black took this weak pawn on b2. After trade of queens came bishop to d3, and now knight takes on g3. Of course f takes on g3, now this in between check. And you see, although it's a opposites the colored bishop situation here, black has already this again occupied this d4 square, and you see white's bishop isn't so good as the black bishop, and the black bishop can play here maybe even on e5 and creating here an attack on this very weak g3 pawn. But first came h5. h5 is preventing here maybe moves as g4 to get rid of this weakness of this g3 pawn. But and of course if white plays g4, then we can take simply on g4 and create a double pawn situation here. So now came bishop to c2, and now of course black took the e file with the rook on e8. We have again bishop to d3. You see white doesn't know what to do anymore in this game. He's really paralyzed with his rooks and with his bishop. And now of course rook to d3, rook to e3 attacking the g3 pawn. So we have now rook to f3 challenging the rook, and the other rook comes also on the e file, rook to e8. So now now we have rook to f1, of course targeting this f7, but black plays f5, and now comes this g4. Of course white's trying to find somehow a way into the game, maybe through the f7 square if the position gets rid here with the pawns. We have h takes on g4, a takes on g4, now again a takes on g4, and now a trade of rooks. So it might seem to you that it's a drawish game, but you see we have already challenging the bishop here, and these dark square problems around white's king. You see after bishop takes on g6 we have this g3, and of course you see the rook cannot leave the protection from the a file, because always is the threat is always present. And we have bishop to c2, rook to e2 attacking the bishop, and after bishop to b3, this was now the moment here is where white resigned. So of course the threat is rook to h4 and checkmate. Of course white cannot prevent it. He can play simply something in between with maybe rook f4, and of course it's a losing game. So what I'm trying here to say to you here is the setup. This is, I think, a very nice setup against the Smyslov variation, because you already occupying this e4 square here. You can simply go and trade the knights, because you would then liberate your dark square bishop. You see in this h6 g5 continuation, although you get rid of this dark square bishop, but your dark square bishop will hardly play in that game. So watch all of my King's Indian variations here from my reproduction list, and watch also my basics in chess, which are here are the links from that. And thanks you for watching, guys. Chess is the best.